Are you about to hand over your money to a brand that might not exist in its current form by the time your loan is paid off? Because right now, some of the most recognizable names in motorcycling are watching their U.S. dealer networks collapse, burning through investor capital they haven't earned back, or quietly retreating from the American market while still cashing your check. This list isn't about which bikes look bad on paper. Some of these motorcycles are genuinely excellent. That's the trap. And number 3 will probably make you angry. Let's get into it. Number 10. Energica. Italian electric performance bikes with real Moto E racing DNA. That's the pitch. And honestly, it's not wrong. The engineering is legitimate, the performance numbers aren't marketing fiction, and early adopters genuinely loved what Energica built. So you'd probably assume the problem is charging infrastructure or range anxiety. That's the expected complaint about any electric motorcycle, and it's almost too obvious. The real problem is who owns the company. Energica's majority stakeholder became Ideanomics, an electric vehicle holding company that has faced severe and publicly documented financial distress, stock collapse, mounting losses, strategic chaos. When your motorcycle manufacturer is depending on a parent company that's fighting for its own survival, the question stops being about range and starts being about whether your warranty means anything in 18 months. U.S. dealer presence was already thin before any of this. Now you're talking about a software-dependent machine, built by a company inside a company that's struggling, sold through a network that barely covers the country. Imagine an error code on your display, and the nearest authorized technician is 400 miles away. That's not a hypothetical inconvenience. That's the real ownership picture for most American Energica buyers. If you want electric performance with a slightly more credible support story, Zero Motorcycles has better U.S. coverage and doesn't carry the same parent company instability. Energica might survive in Europe. In America, it's effectively a ghost. Number 9. Royal Enfield. The pitch here is retro cool, genuine character, and a price point that seems almost too good to be true. And the sales growth has been real. Globally, Royal Enfield found buyers who wanted something different from the Japanese standard and couldn't afford the European premium. The bikes have personality. Nobody's faking that. But here's what the affordable heritage story glosses over. Royal Enfield's U.S. dealer network is sparse. Not bad for their size, sparse, genuinely thin across huge portions of the country. When something goes wrong under warranty, that becomes your problem to solve logistically, not just mechanically. And something eventually goes wrong with every budget-priced motorcycle. That's not a knock, it's physics. The resale picture is also soft in the American market, which matters when you've been sold on buy cheap, enjoy cheap. You can only sell cheap if there's a buyer on the other end, and right now, Royal Enfield doesn't have the brand equity in the U.S. to generate strong used bike demand. The competitive pressure is intensifying too. Honda's entry-level lineup gives you comparable price points with vastly superior dealer density and a resale floor that's been proven over decades. Royal Enfield isn't going bankrupt. It's going quietly irrelevant in America through infrastructure it never fully built. If you're near a dealer and rent your own bike, maybe the equation works. If you're not, and you don't, this is a gamble disguised as a bargain. Number 8. Indian Motorcycle. Here's where it gets more uncomfortable, because Indian has a genuine argument. The Thunderstroke engine has real character. The FTR 1200 is legitimately exciting. Build quality has improved in ways that would have seemed impossible 15 years ago. And the American heritage narrative is completely authentic. This brand actually predates Harley-Davidson. So your instinct is probably that Indian's problem is playing perpetual second fiddle in brand recognition. That's the easy answer. It's also the wrong one. The harder answer is Polaris. Indian's parent company is publicly traded and has faced significant financial and strategic pressure. Polaris runs multiple divisions competing for the same capital, and when a corporation starts making hard choices about where to invest, a motorcycle brand that trails its primary competitor in market share becomes a complicated line item. That uncertainty filters into model development, dealer confidence, and long-term lineup stability. Meanwhile, you're paying near Harley money for a bike that, on most models, is going to depreciate faster than its primary competitor. That gap at trade-in is real. It shows up in the numbers every time. The dealer network is better than it was a decade ago. It's still a fraction of what Harley runs. If your warranty needs work and you're outside a major metro, that matters. Indian builds great motorcycles. The ownership equation is still climbing a hill that Harley got to coast down for 50 years. Number 7. Can-Am. This one is different. BRP, the company behind Can-Am, isn't in financial trouble. The engineering is real, and the three-wheeled platform genuinely served riders who couldn't manage a conventional two-wheeler. The Spyder and Ryker found actual customers with actual needs. So the problem here isn't what most people expect. BRP announced it's moving the Can-Am motorcycle and three-wheeler lineup toward electric. That's a company-level strategic direction, officially stated, which means the gasoline-powered Spyder and Ryker platforms are heading toward end of life. Not immediately, but directionally. The engineering resources, the dealer training investment, the service tooling, all of it is pivoting toward a platform that doesn't include your gas-powered machine. 5 years from now, you're at a Can-Am dealer whose technicians are certified on electric systems, asking about your gas Spyder. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's where the company told you it's going. The bike may be fine for years. The support ecosystem around it is quietly walking away. For the riders who chose Can-Am specifically because two wheels weren't an option, that's a painful place to be left. Number 6. Triumph. Triumph has earned its current reputation. That matters to say clearly, because the reversal here is subtle. The Speed Triple is a genuinely great motorcycle. The Tiger Adventure lineup is competitive. Build quality has improved dramatically since the Hinckley rebuild. And the styling, love it or not, has real identity. The trap is that Triumph now charges German-adjacent money in a lot of segments while delivering a dealer network that doesn't match that price tier outside of major cities. Pull up their U.S. dealer locator. If you live in a secondary market, that map gets sparse fast. You're paying $15,000, $16,000, $17,000 for a motorcycle whose ownership experience varies enormously based on your zip code. In Chicago or Los Angeles, Triumph makes a strong case. 3 hours outside those cities, you're doing math about towing costs every time something needs service. And the resale is decent, not exceptional for what you spend at purchase. You're paying a premium for a genuine product, but part of that premium is going toward the badge and the styling rather than the ownership infrastructure. For the right buyer in the right location, Triumph absolutely makes sense. For too many American buyers, the gap between what they paid and what they get at ownership level is quietly disappointing. Number 5. Ducati. I know. And yes, before the comments write themselves, the Panigale is a legitimate piece of engineering. The performance numbers aren't inflated. The Desmo technology filtering down through the street lineup is real racing development, not marketing copy. Nobody serious disputes what Ducati can do on a track or a twisty road. But here's the thing, most first-time Ducati buyers don't fully understand until they're staring at a service invoice. The Desmodromic valve system requires specialized service that most independent mechanics won't touch. You're locked into dealer service. That's by design. And that service isn't just expensive because dealers charge premium labor rates. It's expensive because the system genuinely requires it. Skip the Desmo service and you're gambling with an engine that has no tolerance for neglect. Do it on schedule, and you're on a financial commitment that surprises people who budgeted for the purchase, but not for the ownership. Add a U.S. dealer network that's thinner than the brand's prestige would suggest outside major metropolitan areas. Factor in the uncertainty that comes from Ducati sitting inside a corporate structure, Audi, which is inside Volkswagen Group, that has faced serious financial pressure and strategic upheaval. And the picture becomes more complicated. Volkswagen Group's troubles don't automatically doom Ducati. But when corporations tighten capital allocation, premium sub-brands feel it. The engineering is extraordinary. The ownership requires a specific financial situation that most buyers genuinely underestimate until year 2. Number 4. KTM, GasGas, and Husqvarna. This is where the list stops being about vague financial fragility and becomes documented reality. Pierer Mobility, the parent company of KTM, GasGas, and Husqvarna, entered insolvency proceedings in late 2024. That's public record. This isn't speculation or industry rumor. The company that makes some of the most genuinely exciting motorcycles available anywhere on Earth went into insolvency. The KTM Duke lineup, the adventure bikes, the RC sport bikes, real machines, real performance, not exaggerated. The off-road dominance across multiple segments is earned. None of that is why you should hesitate right now. You should hesitate because buying a vehicle from a manufacturer inside insolvency proceedings means buying during maximum uncertainty. Warranty support, parts supply chain continuity, dealer commitment, service tool investment, all of it depends on a corporate structure that is actively being reorganized. Peerer has sought restructuring rather than permanent closure, and the outcome may eventually stabilize. But may eventually stabilize is not what you want the ownership story to be for a motorcycle you just financed. The orange machines were the anti-establishment choice. Now you're checking restructuring news and hoping your bike doesn't become an orphan before the resolution is final. If the situation resolves cleanly, KTM could be a strong buy in 18 months. Right now, you're taking a bet you didn't sign up for. If that service bill at a Ducati dealer bothers you, the next entry hits differently because it involves a name that most American riders have never once considered putting on a warning list. Number 3. Harley-Davidson. I said this one would make you angry. The dealer network is real. The community is real. The American heritage isn't manufactured. The Milwaukee 8 engine has genuine character. On certain classic models, the resale genuinely holds. And the emotional experience of Harley ownership, the culture, the rallies, the identity, isn't something you can put on a spreadsheet, and it's not nothing. But Harley-Davidson has been losing younger buyers for years, and this is documented in their own financial reporting. They've tried to respond. The Livewire Electric project eventually spun off as a separate brand. The Pan America Adventure bike, which is actually good and got almost no traction commercially. International expansion. None of the pivots have fundamentally changed the trajectory. The average Harley buyer is older than the average motorcycle buyer, and that gap has been widening for a long time. Here's where it gets financially specific. Resale strength on Harley is heavily model dependent, and most buyers learn this lesson at trade-in rather than at purchase. A used Street Glide and a used Iron 883 from the same year tell completely different depreciation stories. But at the showroom, both carry the same badge premium. You pay for the legend and discover which version of the legend you actually bought when you try to sell it. And the pricing on entry models now is extraordinary for what you get mechanically versus the competition. A new Sportster S starts near the same money as a Honda Africa Twin, which is a completely different engineering achievement in a completely different capability class. Harley is not going bankrupt. What's actually happening is more subtle and more permanent. They're becoming a niche brand while still charging flagship prices. The community is worth something. The question is how much of your purchase price you're allocating to it. Number 2. Benelli and the Chinese-owned European names. Benelli looks Italian. The styling carries that promise. The price seems almost reasonable for what appears to be a European alternative. And some of these bikes, particularly CF Moto's adventure models, genuinely deliver real specifications at pricing that undercuts established competition significantly. The specs aren't lies. Benelli is owned by Tianjiang Group. CF Moto is Chinese. Neither brand has built a mature U.S. dealer and service infrastructure. That's verifiable through their own dealer locators. And this is where the ownership picture fractures. What happens after the purchase is where these brands cost you. Parts availability for less common models can turn into a months-long wait. Resale in the U.S. market is soft to nearly non-existent in many regions. Not because the bikes are bad, but because the brand equity hasn't been established long enough to generate confident used bike buyers. And if something goes wrong out of warranty, you may find yourself with a capable motorcycle and no clear path to repair that doesn't involve sourcing parts internationally. If you're a competent DIY mechanic who understood the resale reality going in and you're near one of their dealers, some of these bikes are actually defensible purchases. But most buyers attracted to the specs per dollar pitch don't have all of that working in their favor simultaneously. You're not buying a bad motorcycle. You're buying into an ownership ecosystem that hasn't been fully built yet, and you're the one absorbing the risk while it catches up. Number 1. Zero motorcycles. This is the one that surprises people. Zero has been the answer to which electric motorcycle company is actually serious for years. They've been around since 2006. The SRF and SRS are genuinely better motorcycles than they were 5 years ago. Dealer coverage across the U.S. is real and improving. They have actual customers who are genuinely satisfied, and Zero Motorcycles has never been consistently profitable. The company has survived on rounds of investor capital. This pattern is reported across trade press and financial coverage going back years. After nearly 2 decades of operation, the path to sustainable profitability without external capital remains unproven. That's not a rumor. It's the shape of the business model. Here's why that matters more for Zero than for almost any other brand on this list. A Zero motorcycle is deeply software dependent. Over-the-air updates, battery management, connectivity, performance tuning. It's not a mechanical machine in the traditional sense. It's a platform, and that platform needs the company behind it to keep functioning, keep updating, keep prioritizing your model in their development pipeline. If Zero closes or is acquired and repositioned, you don't just lose a dealer relationship. You potentially lose firmware updates for known issues, battery management optimization, and whatever connected features you were promised when you bought it. Your sophisticated, capable, genuinely impressive electric motorcycle becomes increasingly difficult to maintain over time in ways that a simple gasoline bike with a closed mechanical system simply doesn't. Zero has been 18 months from profitability for a very long time. That might change. The EV investment climate might shift back in their favor. The business might finally cross the threshold. But you're buying that uncertainty along with the motorcycle, and unlike most of the brands on this list, you can't protect yourself from it by choosing a closer dealer or learning to wrench yourself. The bike that should work and might represent the future of motorcycling is currently a bet on a company that hasn't yet proven it can survive without someone else's money. That's the highest stakes ownership gamble on this entire list, and it has nothing to do with how the motorcycle rides. The pattern across all 10 of these brands is the same story told different ways. You're not just buying a motorcycle. You're buying into an ownership ecosystem that either supports you or abandons you after the sale. Purchase price gets you through the door. The ecosystem is what you actually live with. Some of these companies make extraordinary machines. Some of them have genuine heritage worth respecting. That doesn't change what happens when your closest dealer closes, your warranty claim goes unanswered, or your trade-in comes back at a number that makes you do the math twice. If there's one brand on this list you'd never buy again, or one you think I got completely wrong, tell me below. I'm not always right, but I'm trying to save you from a decision that's a lot harder to undo than it is to make.